All right, here we go. Hi, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the stream. Okay, I hope you're ready for this. Let's just before I do the big reveals for today, because I got a couple fun things going on. One is here is today's page. Now, today's page is based on the live stream I did yesterday with Chris Kalui here. And Kalui, I'm sorry. Hi, Aditi. I got a big surprise coming for you in a second, Aditi. Okay, so this is the page that I did yesterday. Now, if you look on Chris's Instagram and Facebook, maybe I'm not sure she has that or not, but on her Instagram she shows her page that she did from Prompts Live, and Miriam did one too, so you can find one on Miriam's page as well from the prompts that we used. This was fun. Typical silliness. I was trying two different things. One is the actions that are happening, and the second line of text is the narrator's voice that you would actually hear in the video. And so the director directing things behind the screen is who gets mad at the end. That's the theory. That's the principal theory. So hopefully you're reading it as two thoughts of two different people. So hiya, Dee, hiya, Chris, and hiya to anybody else that's joined us. And let me switch the old Kamarooski. Hi. I'm all dressed for Christmas. I put on a suit. Anyhow. For some reason, I've been doing a lot of sound effects lately. I don't quite know why, but I am. I texted Lori a few minutes ago. It's not just a hat. Ow! Look at that tuxedo. Yeah, Corbin ran away, and he runs away when I cough. Actually. Okay, so I texted Lori recently and asked her, should I be listening for the door? Because we ordered things through the interwebs. And I was not paying attention this morning. And so randomly, just before the stream started, like I checked a few times, but randomly I checked just before the stream started, and there's all this stuff on our porch. It's like, because it's Christmas shopping and things like that, right? And I'm like, boy, am I glad I did this just before the stream. So I got some fun thing. I got a fun thing to show you that I got from your birthday. Okay, so I'm going to take today's page off, put the table up. Ow, there he is. I don't know if this is like the universe talking to my Star Wars dorkiness, but this is a Vader. Vader, get it? Like Vader? So this is, before using the keypad, download the user manual. Oh, yeah, of course. So this is what this is. It's as simple as this little thing. And it's just 9 buttons. And so what the 9 buttons are for is to let me program it so that I can save myself having to hunt and peck. Like when I've got a keyboard, can I get, no, keyboard can't go on camera. So, oh, maybe there was in this camera. I'll switch this around. Wank. Wow. So this one is a lot of double buttons and farting around and control this and shift that. And there's only so many buttons that I use. So this is what I ordered from my mother-in-law. She said, order a thing. So I ordered a thing. And listen to that. ASMR, or whatever you call that. So the idea is that I set up the transitional changes so I don't have to monkey around with the screens anymore. I can just go, let's go to this screen, and I press the button and it goes there. And then in the Photoshop, I do the same thing. I need to use this pencil. I go to that. So I have to learn how to program on that part. But it's all there. It's all there to be discovered. So I'm excited. I really am. I'm looking forward to it and to trying it out. But I plan on having this working tomorrow. So exciting. But this should help make more effective my game when it comes to efficiency, efficaciousness. Oh, what? Yeah, so that's the theory. That's the principal theory, anyhow. I've got a frog in my throat. So it's not very big. It's a really tiny thing, but the whole idea is that it sits just right beside me, and I don't have to monkey around with the whole keyboard blocking me. I could just draw and press the random buttons. I'm really looking forward to this. I'm learning how to use some technologies. Everyone would be very proud of me. So there's a couple ways I can do today. I can either work traditionally, do some mixed media stuff, or I can work digitally and do some monkeying around with the digital front. I've been working on the computer for the last few hours, which is why I was wearing my magic two-finger glove. I can work either way today. If anybody has a preference, let me know. I'm listening to the soundtrack of the Umbrella Academy TV show. So there's all kinds of cool, great throwback music in that. Hello, Jim. How are you today, sir? Hey, don't be overwhelmed by the celebratory nature of my outfit. This isn't distracting. Okay, so yesterday's prompts were really fun. Thank you, everybody that was suggesting those and getting in the mix. That was good times. And I have been, there are a couple that I didn't use, like Space and Hippity Hop, or Hippity Hoppy. So I'll be doing those next week. Chris says, digital? Question mark. Okay, digital it is. So I'll knock off the tabletop. One more fancy show. Ooh, Chris is gonna get freaky. Anyways, so that's gonna get all sorted out and incorporated. And ideally, when I start trying to figure this thing out, which will probably be later tonight, I'm having a hangout with a couple of really cool cats tonight at 10 p.m. EST. So I'll probably start farting around with it right then and there. But, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how you plug in. Okay. So, digital it is. And so what my plan is for digital is to just take whatever today's suggestion is and start roughing it in pencil. So I'll switch to, see, this is the whole switching screens thing. Nonsense. We're almost done this. So, yeah. So we're now up on the page itself. So the unfortunate problem with this is that you can't see the brush tools and things that I'm using. So we did traditional yesterday, so do digital today, Chris says. Okay. Okay, I got one. I just opened the book, went, yep, all right, let's do that. So I'll write this down, and I'll just put it in here. Put it in the chat. Today's suggestion is that way to telepathy. This is why I'm laughing. That's great. From Pat H. Oh my goodness. I don't know if that's even a real name now. This is a suggestion from the con, and I don't even know if this is a real name now, because do you get the thing that it could refer to? Hold on. I'll post it up. That way to telepathy is the suggestion for a page, but look at the person's name. I mean, look at their name. So I'm wondering if they were giving me a joke name and not their actual name, because their name is, anybody? Path. That way to telepathy, down that path, get it? Hey, it's funny. Hi, Anne, welcome aboard. I was just watching, I think Anne was doing this Christmas card. It was So cool. It was like 3-dimensional. Anyway, I gotta watch the whole video because I only caught the last half. So I'm excited to see that. To see the magic of how she produced this thing. So, okay. So for those that haven't seen this yesterday, this is the new studio setup. I've turned my desk is still where it is, but I've turned my workstation from facing that way, which is only like 4 feet away, 5 feet away from some of my bookshelves, to this way, so I can see all the way across the studio. And I've got all the tools on that side, and my desk now connects around this way. So it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So you're seeing behind me and seeing my Star Wars picture and my Alex Ross painting and fun stuff. Okay. And this is not Corbin approved yet. No, it's not at all. Corbin doesn't like it. He walks over my traditional drawing station. He sits directly beside me in the way of everything. So, thank you, Corbin. So, it's a challenge, but we're working it out. He was sitting here for the whole morning, right beside me, and just sort of staring at me across the desk, giving me looks. What is this setup, bro? What are you doing? Okay, so let's get going. So the suggestion is, oh, look at that color. I was just monkeying around, and look at the color I left it on. That way to telepathy, and that's from Pat H. It looks like Path. That's why I'm like, I wonder if that's even a real name. Who knows? Okay, so now I've done the digital stuff before, and it's pretty. It's a pretty different approach that I take on how I sort of set this up, and bear with me, but it's interesting. Anyways, I'm going to cut down the size. I don't like drawing with this color, so I'm on another layer from the. Anne says, "Remember androgynous Pat from SNL? Why can't she just be a person?" Anyway, yes, I do. I still sing that theme song, Anne, as politically incorrect as it is. But it isn't, right? Respect a man or what is it? A boy or a girl, respect him or her for whatever it might be. It's time for androgyny. Here comes Pat. Right? Why are you staring? It's always a different thing that Pat says at the end of that. So, okay, so I've got the screen up. I'll make the view a little bit bigger. Okay, so the general thing that I'll often do is I'll switch to, like, I'll put a border up, just to put a border up, and that way it sorry, I moved my whole screen. I'm getting used to this. I'm working on it. So putting the border up for myself just sort of says, hey, here's a frame you're working within. But all right, get that out of the way. And we don't need to see my name the whole time. All right, good. Great stuff. Yeah, it was fun. Okay, so that way to telepathy. Is there any ideas that anybody has? We got to postpone tonight's meeting with Paul. Okay. All right, that's fine. No worries. It's a cold-blooded heartbreak. He's a heartbreaker. Yeah, no worries. That's fine. I'm moving my son new bed. He got himself a new bed, and I was kind of really cramming it to get over to the chat in time. Maybe Paul and I will meet without you, Jim. Thank you for letting me know, though. All right, so yeah, let's just get started. What am I on? Pencil. Okay, so I think that oftentimes what I'll just do is Jeremy Rocks. Who I'll have to look this up. Jeremy Burley's stream. It's at 10 EST. So Jeremy Burley. Jeremy Burley. All right. Okay. Just because I'll forget. All right. So let's just draw. 100% darker. There we go. So I'm going to draw a couple of guys in jail. I don't know. It's a picture I had over there in the book. So the funny thing about drawing digitally is that it's really not any different than traditionally drawing. It's just there's all kinds of facility and service to it that you can change. You can alter it so much more. And I'm going to see what brush I got going here because I don't like it. That's really granulated too. What's the deal? Maybe I'm set too low for it and it doesn't like it. Interesting, isn't it? Okay, well, so I'm just going to put it in and I'll sort that part out later. I better not met with my sweet Polly without me, Jim says. He doesn't just belong to you, Jim. You know that, right? He's his own person. He's his own man. I don't know. With a hat like this, I can't really control my thoughts anymore. They're all held up in this thing. I had to check that, Didi, because I didn't know if I did or not. Didi's asked Jim if he's got all messages clicked in his settings. Yeah, I've already run out of steam for that nonsense. This whole confusion that I've been experiencing here during the stream is that I switched my brush to the opposite side of the page and my settings to the opposite side of the page, trying to uniform, like try to make a more effectively organized workspace, and that has just thrown me off the whole time. So like just having it back on the proper side of the page, it took me like 3 seconds to figure out my brush settings even. You have to do it in live stream. You have to do it on every live stream, even recordings. Oh. That I did not know. That I have not been doing. Hopefully I haven't been falling behind and being silly. What are the chances of that? I'm a very silly person. So I'm trying to keep the pencils here really loose as I'm drawing them, and just to not get too worked up about it. Not your own, Christopher. Thank you, Didi. You could have finished that with, not your own, Christopher. Yeah, big goofball. That would have been appropriate. That, because I am. It's fun drawing with the digital because I can just immediately that's gone, right? And it's nice because it allows you to make sure that things are where you want them. You can resize stuff and move it around. You can utilize all kinds of different things to tighten up your image. You can incorporate other external elements into it. Like that's good feels. Excuse me a second. I have to switch something. Bring me the head of John Bon Jovi for covering the cats in the cradle. Oh, Ugly Kid Joe, even worse. Yeah, you get easily annoyed by covers. All right, so I'm going to give this guy a cap. He's got better hair than me. My hair is always a mess. Okay, so I can clean up a lot of this. It's pretty rough, but it does the job. So this is a part where I can use this little doodad. Oh, I see, Dee Dee. Thank you. Just doesn't feel like it's in the right spot, does it? Maybe it's a scale. Oh, yeah, I think it might be a scale thing. Yeah, I'm really excited about figuring this square thing out because all that whole monkeying around moving the what's going on? All of that monkeying around you just saw me have to do to adjust that there. I won't have to do it. I gotta just button, bingo. Now, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? I'm still going to have to figure out how to program it. Thank you, Didi. Didi says I try to remind people of it because when people don't see comments or replies to them, they think they're being ignored. You have all messages clicked at the top of chat for each chat that you join. It's a really great piece of advice, Didi. Thank you. Okay, so the shoulder line was too short. That's what it was. Lori's home from bowling. She was at a staff thing today. And she's also wearing a hat, by the way. We're very stylish. We're a very stylish couple. She's probably going to check and make sure and see if I'm wearing my hat. She said I would. Now, other people, when they're drawing digitally, they utilize it more like a painting tool. I was really pleased to see that Paul Pate also uses it, as a pen. And I think he's far better at it than I am. But other people use it as a painting tool. And so because of that, they'll they'll be more like, shaping out things and filling in the spaces of it and then going over another value and tightening those lines up. And it's like, I tend to just use it as a pencil. So it's whatever works for you, right? I'm going to get playing in 2 seconds, though, before I move on to, another color. Before I go on to the next panel or anything like that, I'm not drawing in because for the plan for the bars, and then I'll just have to figure out the spacing between here. I'm going to be there and there. Yeah, that sounds good. That frames his face nicely. Okay. Yeah, I hope that nobody ever feels like I'm ignoring him. I apologize if that's the case. I'm trying to keep up, but I know oftentimes Jim will sing that song to me and I'll miss it. Oh, Chris, well, I've had the time of my... No, don't sing that. I'll be stuck in everyone's heads all day. Before you know it, you're watching Dirty Dancing and mad at me. I can't be dealing with that, so I can't have people hate me for making them watch Dirty Dancing just because I hummed a song. Don't be mad at me. So I'm going to put, I'll do the bars in there, and then I'll do some textures and stuff in here as well, and get it set up so that the page comes together on these different layers, and I can just compress it down. Like I'm drawing in this light blue, but I can clean up my lines and just convert it to black, or use a tighter line in certain places. So it's kind of that's nice. It shortens a step, because if you're one for laying things out and then having to go back and ink a drawing, or you don't have to worry about that as much using this digital process, because there's methods that you can take your colored lines, your drawn lines, and just convert them to ink, convert them to black. Hi, Riri. Welcome aboard. Welcome. Okay, so just getting the second guy in now. And, from here, I'll start putting in some of those different shapes, the bars, and see where I can go with that. Hello, Chris. Chris taught me a valuable thing yesterday. She said that when a person says in a stream, I'm watching, I'm just on the balcony, it means they've got you playing in the background, but they're doing something else in the meantime, but they're there. They're joining you, being supportive. It's just they're also otherwise engaged. And I had no idea that was a thing. So, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Dee says, another name for lurker or lurking. And I like that as an alternate for lurking. Right, Chris says, yes, right now I'm on the balcony. And Riri says, I lurk often. Maybe she didn't say it like that. Yeah, I tend to try to participate in people's things, but because I'm generally working in the studio, and I gotta keep a lid on myself here, and keep going. So oftentimes I won't be engaging in the chat, and so I because I'm on a balcony. In London, that means a whole different thing than it does where Chris lives, because in London, that balcony could be covered in snow. It gets there cold there too. Okay, so here's my layer with these two crazy kids, and let's put some bars in this image, and then I'm just repeating the same pattern, trying to make sure I get my spacing correct. I could use a ruler. Bet Janet would like that, but see, it goes right over his face. So I'll have to tighten in my lines. Hi, you're not wearing your hat anymore. No. Do you want to say hi? Even though you don't have your hat on anymore, Lori? She took her hat off, folks.
It's very festive, though.
Oh, I'm all about Christmas right now. That thing came in.
Oh, yeah. It's great.
Just try the buttons.
Oh, that feels good to press them.
That's just pure joy.
Getting things done. All right.
Okay. Are you in the office upstairs? Or are you checking out? Okay. And we'll figure out about it. What we're gonna do with Josh later.
Okay.
All right. So one more. I fudged a little bit on the spacing of the bars. We'll get one more in here. But I'm sorry. I'll pass on all the highs to Lori. Chris is getting ready for a party. Riri wants to go. Sure, Chris says. It's a gathering of a club of elders in which my dad participates. People over 60 and more. Hey, I'm in. Dee says hi. What is Nancy? I'm lurking while wrapping some Christmas presents. Nice. And Ann says hi. I'll make sure to pass those on, guys. Okay, so here's this first breakdown for the page. So the thing that I would do now is in the places where so in the places where the bars are gone over by our character, I erase out the bars, and then I should see, made a huge mess out of this. Give me a sec. Okay, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get really tricky for a moment. Thanks for the reminder, Ann. I almost forgot. Yeah, Lori doesn't wrap. So any wrapping that happens in our house for Christmas, I have to do it. And that can be problematic for the kids because I've been promised that I'm a good wrapper. So, okay, so I push the bars over, and then now I'm going to wrong layer. So now I'm going to shift the drawing of the guys over. So this is there we go, just to put his face in there a little bit. Now, and then I just clean up these lines that got adjusted a little bit here. Now the different layers still exist that he sits underneath. Like I can turn off all the bars, and even though I've put all those bars in, but I've also condense down the image a little bit, this lets me just adjust things so that I can not have to worry about when I have to put in this object like the bars, that they're going to, so space that out a little bit more, that they're going to mess up the picture, because that's the worst. People accepted me despite the fact I'm not even 60, I'm 52, so I'm kind of the baby sister there. Nice. Nice. I could be a baby sister. That might not be right. Okay, so now I come in, now that I've got that straightened out, and I take out the bars where he's holding on, right? And I'll take his hand right here, and I'm just going to move it back a tiny bit. So back to that layer, taking out the bar there. What in the world is going on now? There we go. So this way, it now looks like, I'd always intended for the drawing to be structured in such a way that you would think that I drew it with the nice lines in there. Normally I'm paying a little bit more attention when I'm drawing it. I don't have to do all this adjusting business. It's kind of fun to be able to use these layers like this. And this is really what the real benefit of drawing digitally is the fact that I can do this, that I can manipulate the images that I've already put down. Not too overzealous there. So the other thing is, because I've drawn this in a flat, open and yet open format, the white that you see in the background doesn't exist. It's not on my layer. Well, it does exist on a different layer completely. So what I can now do is take another layer and put that in, and drop a color on it. That's a crazy color. So that just sort of allows me to have a shape and a structure to the panel itself now. But the color that I put down here is not on the same layer. It can come and go, and in addition to that, I can put another layer on top of it, but still below the line layer, and I can come in and I can color it. I can put color to the drawing, and again, this is the other fun part. And it can be, these two layers of color are independent of one another. But the full frame size that I put down, this flat color here, is to allow me a sense of, the size of the panel or the size of the image specifically for this. And then it comes in all those fun decisions. So this is why I can then put another layer on top, and I can draw, another character on top, like that overlaps with that first layer. So like, I can have another character, sitting here in the foreground. And because of, again, you see here's the bars are on a different layer. This is on a different layer. I can now go back in and take out all of the other layers except for this image and make that one piece of line art. So now the bars and the characters are uniform, they're together. So, you know, when I put that gray back underneath, then I put our guys over top of that, you know, I can put that color back in, and all of that's independent of the base. So it's just, imagine it like, for those that have never tried this, that's, I think in my mind, this is the whole trick to Photoshop. And imagine it as a stack of clear sheets of plastic, and you're drawing different elements or painting different elements on each individual sheet as they lay over top of each other, which is, by the way, how animation cells work for doing traditional motion pictures, for doing traditional animated projects, is that you would put these characters on these different layers of plastic sheets. And so each sheet would have, here's one guy, and the first sheet's got him doing this, and then you've got a different background behind him that stays static. And so as you lay this plastic sheet with a character doing this over top, you take a picture, and then you lift this off, and you put the next piece of plastic on where he's moving forward. Take a picture, move that off, and then you put this one down. And so when you cycle through all those photos, that's our guy running. As he runs across this static, this flat base environment, like the white here, that stays in our background. And the rest of it's just moving over top. It's all I can do to stay focused and to not sidetrack and just start trying to figure out just drawing animations now. Like there's just this part of me that's really compelled to do it. But I realize that, no, I'm in the middle of doing something. So stick with it. And, try that out when you've got some time available to you, which I kind of don't right now. Okay, so I'm putting in this color for his hands and his face. Now, another way I can do this is to take this tool here, which draws an outline of, let's take a little marching ant outline of all of the places. And instead of having to brush it all in, I just now fill it all in. And again, this is another way it saves me time. It saves me having to think about it too much. And then when I want to put their uniforms on, I can take that same tool and run that through, and I can even go over top of where I've already painted that flesh tone. And so if I choose now to put in, let me find we'll try this. That's really green. Let's do that. Okay, so gotta be a middle ground someplace here, folks. Happy. So, and again, because it's just done so, utilizing this tool and so simply, I can edit it all too. I can change, clean it up, whatever I need to do. But this just feels large, rough areas of color, and then I can tidy it all up. Come in with the brush, and or I can take the time to trace it all around properly. I find that the reason that a lot of times you'll see I'll add things digitally after drawing traditionally on these pages that I do is that because I can color, if I do a pencil drawing, if I do line art, and then I sit down with my line art drawing, I have a scanner right here. And so I put my line art in the scanner. Right now, this is an envelope, by the way, that I drew on yesterday. The paper that I used is an envelope. It's even got the seam down the center. And so this is the art for yesterday's page. I know it's a little flashed out, but bear with me. So I scan this. Now let's say it's just line art. I scan it, meaning black and white, a black and white drawing. I scan it into the scanner. It goes into the system. I pull it up on a page, just like I have, this drawing here. And then I can convert it to a clear layer. Like, remember how I described this clear layer, right? So I can convert my drawing to that. And then I just start setting up these layers underneath it. So now I can put color to this thing. And when you see me doing these loops, it works so much faster. But then, what is this? Okay, that's just my border. Drop that down a note, and that's just my note. Okay. So now when I'm doing it, I'll put that in a minute, I can throw more layers in between. So what I mean by that is, if I put another layer here, and there's so many tools that are available, like here is a crazy piece of texture that I can put in between the guys in the foreground. Like if I take this out, it runs between that foreground painted layer. So, okay, so I'll show it to you this way. Okay, so I'll apply the layers in order. So there's the immediate color underneath the drawing. There's that texture that I just put in underneath, and I can stretch that across to fill the entirety of the image. And you can't see the gray right now. You can see it pop in on the edge, the outside edge here. Look by the arrow. So that is the gray. That's the original frame, the original panel size that I put in. And when I compress all these layers, let me see, does the marching ants show up? Yeah, they do. So the marching ants that you can see, that's what I call these little dots that you see on the screen now. Well, I can delete everything that is in that section. So now I've tightened up the size of my entire image here. And all of these subsequent layers are all the same height now. And so, but this is how I can put in these different textures. And this is how I can do these different modifications. Chris says, that's what I have tried. Draw traditionally, then scan and color digital. Still difficult for me to adjust to layers. It takes a little while. It really does. And I completely appreciate that. And it's an awful lot of adapting to a completely different way of working. Do you have a drawing pen? I think is the first hurdle that I would suggest to people that they might want to leap, is whether or not you have a digital drawing pen. Now, there's the Wacom tablet, which is a flat plastic board, and it has a digital pen. And as you draw on this plastic board, it appears on your screen, on your monitor in front of you. And then the other way is to get a monitor that you can draw on directly, right? And then, so you're actually looking at where you're putting the marks down on. That's another thing that might make some difference for you. It's those little things. It's the developments of trying to figure out what method works for you. Didi says, on iPad, you draw right on it. That's true. That's true. And Didi uses Procreate, which is a really similar program to this. It has its differences, benefits, and minuses, but it's very similar. Oh, go back with that. So I'm going to cut down how dark that is. I'm just erasing it back a little bit so that I can keep that texture, but I don't want it to be so deep in the background. And if I want to change my mind about it, I just step back on the list of actions that I've done. Chris says, I use Sketchbook. I'm not familiar with Sketchbook. Do you have an iPad? Because if you have an iPad, there's so many different programs. Didi's asking the same thing. Is it on iPad? So again, I'm going to cut that down a little bit. All right, so we've got our two guys. So the other thing I can do is take an eyedropper tool and then pick up back on that color that I was using for the flesh tone and clean this up a little bit. So I'm also able to, come in with these and fill these bars in, these spaces in, or I can just do the marching ants over that shape and just put it in this way. And then I could just move it over to the other bar and expedite the whole process for myself. And so this lets me fill in this volume of color. Now the finishes, the cleanups, the shading in the skin and stuff like that, I can do another layer to do that. The reason that when I put the dropper down, which is the tool I'm using to fill in the bar, is that it didn't go over the hands, because it actually reads the differences of the colors that it's going over top. So Chris says, I'll get to that in just one sec, guys. I'll just finish this. What did I do there? Oh, I see what I did there. Okay, that's fine. And I'll just go back in and color those fingers in. I painted the fingers too because they're attached to the arm and it's a flat color field. So that's why I did that. Okay, so is it on an iPad? Yes, it's on iPad. It's a free app. Procreate is $10. Is that at $10 a month? And then Chris says, I need the pencil. I only have a stylus pen right now. Yeah, the stylus pen has like a rubber ball tip. And the challenge of utilizing that rubber ball tip is that it drags a little bit and it's not as comfortable as it is as a pencil. That's what I find anyways. I've got a couple that are actually really nice. And yet despite that rubber, they're nice pens, but the rubber ball tip is still problematic. Oh, Didi says it's only $10 and a one-time cost. That I think is a worthy investment, even if it is. Didi says it might be $15 now. She hasn't checked it since she bought it 4 years ago. Even if it is $15, $20, a one-time purchase of a program that you don't have to monkey around with, like Photoshop, is upwards of $85 a month to have the contemporary Photoshop program. I'm using Photoshop from 2005. That's why sometimes when people that use Photoshop look at what I'm doing and they're like, what program is that? I'm like, it's Photoshop. It's like, when did it look like? Because I'm using a really old version of it. I have it on a key. I have it on my external hard drive. I have it on a second key. I don't want to lose that ever. And every computer I've ever owned, because I had a different computer when I first started coming onto the streams a year and a half or 2 years ago. I put it on that computer, and then that computer went no time flat. So we bought this one that works quite well. And I immediately put it on this one too, because I have it on this little USB key. So I just keep using that. And because I refuse to pay $85 a month for Photoshop. That means I don't have all the new bells and whistles, but I don't care. I don't know that I necessarily use them anyways. But yeah, if you're able to do that for yourself and pick up the pencil. Now the pencil for the iPads is, I think that's a cost. But hey, look at this. Dan's here. Hi, Dan. Welcome aboard. Sorry, it took me a second to get to you. Yeah, there's honestly the allure of drawing with an iPad so that I can draw anywhere and draw digitally. The allure for me isn't the iPad. The allure for me is how cool that pen is and how well it works with the device. That to me is the impressive part, not just the iPad. for me, it's whatever tablet, I don't care. But that pen, that pencil, Dee Dee says she thinks it's $100. It's very well, it'd be a little pricier there, I might think, because you got to have everything shipped in. Dan says hi. Hi. Okay, anybody that's at home, if you don't have your Santa hats on, come on, go get them. Come on. This is what the cool kids do at the back of the bus. Much more than this. Okay, so now I've got these separate layers like I've shown, and I'll clean up this post, but you can see how that utilizing the different layers and how that allows me to modify things in little subtle ways that affects only one part of it and not the next one is the benefit of doing digital drawing. The fact that I can turn off all of these different parts of it is so fun and a little enabling. Now, here comes, I'm going to do one more, a little bit of jazz here. Put it there. So this guy, let's get this out of here. All right, so this layer, so there's all kinds of different effects and different things that you can apply. So I'm going to pick one. I got one here, and I'm going to use a different green. Now, you can see how it puts, this one has spatter on it, right? Listening to Frank Sinatra right now, and it's just throwing me right off. I've had my share of boozing. What a guy. The chairman of the board. Okay, so here we go. So you can see this crazy static pattern. So when I put this down, it's put down this Dayglow dot Letraset type thing like you've seen me use traditionally. Well, this is a way to do that digitally. And then you can just go in and cut out the parts that you don't want. You can just erase those out. But what's more interesting, Riri says, $100 for a pencil. And Dee Dee says, it's an iPencil, Riri, for the iPad. You know, but there's still part of me, I'm going to be honest, everybody, that $100 for an iPad pencil? What do they want my left leg to? So I'm taking the dots away now. So I've got the eraser set. I've got, I've increased the size of my pen so that now I can come through and take out where the dots are over the flash and over the bars, because the thing about these dots is that, I'll just do this guy and then I'll move on. But the thing about these dots is that now I can do some shading in the costume, right? Procreate is $17.40 in Mexico. I still think that's worth it. Okay, so I'm looking for the raised areas in the composition where the light would more hit directly on there. I'm pulling those up. And now what I've done is I've turned down the opacity on my brush so that it works lighter. and that I can take a look here. Here's one swipe, but the lines are still there. It takes 2, 3, 4. It takes about 4 passes to make the marks disappear. And remember, I can just take it back out by going up the steps. So, okay, what am I missing? Whooper snappers. Oh, Dee Dee says it works amazingly though. I will say that about the iPad. That's the entire allure to buy an iPad for me, would be just to get the iPad and work on Procreate or some other program. 1740 in Mexico. You can zoom in to 1 pixel at a time if you want. Oh yeah, you can do that. I've not tried virtual drawing. That is still good. CK, it's very good. It's a very good price, Chris. Wow. Okay, thank you. So what I've done is I've turned down the opacity so that now I can have a nice smoother blend and shade with an eraser the dots as I take them out. So there's a more subtle transition in the blending for where the shadow areas are on the surface of our character here. It's kind of a fun thing, that, but it makes the light look more transitional. You know, and here's another sneaky thing I'm going to do. If I duplicate this layer, and it's just the specific layer of the dots, it darkens all the dots because it's twice as thick now. Can I zoom? I will indeed zoom for you, Dee Dee. I'm so sorry. I get so used to working. Is that better? Okay, so if I take off these Dayglow dots layers, the colored layer, that textured layer, there's that background color, and there's the drawing on top. So I'll start from the bottom. There's the base. There's the texture. There's the individual color for the composition. There's that Dayglow dot layer that I've just implemented, and then now I've shown how I can even deepen those values. And there's our line art on top of that. So you can see how confusing it is, the face that still has the dots in it because we haven't taken them away, but how much it makes once you do, how much it makes that other face pop right out. Holy camoly. Apple Pencil is $162.55. If it's an affordable thing for you and you think you're going to use your digital tablet for drawing and for exploring drawing, it's a valuable investment, because if this iPad dies, you can put it on your next iPad, right? Imagine what Roy Lichtenstein would think. Yeah, I think he'd play. Well, the difference with Roy Lichtenstein is he didn't actually draw the things. He was copying existing images and applying the Dayglow dot process to it. But yeah, as far as it goes for screen printing, that silk screen or all those dots, I think he screened. I think he did screen printing to make those images. Maybe he painted it. I don't know. But instead of having to do that, you can bloop. There you are. There's your whole layer. Sneaky, sneaky, cheeky. Okay, now that's getting silly. I don't care what kind of pencil. It probably costs less than manufacturer and a flipping one. It probably does. But consider it for 2024. Right now, the university is having temporary contracts. Oh no. The next one will be signed until January 15th. Chris, you, from everything I know about you, you're a good teacher, and I fully believe you're going to be brought back. Okay, Dee Dee says much better. Roy's pixels shine through. Yeah, there you go. Just buy the right pencil for your iPad. There are 2 types depending on your iPad. Are there? Oh, okay. I'm talking out of turn. I'm sorry. I'll need to take my iPad to the Mac store so I can direct with the correct one. There we go. All right. So back to this. So you can see how this face on this side, is it showing the, you can see how this face on this side pops out so much more than the other. And that's kind of nice, you know. So put it back down to 1. There we go. So you can see how it takes me a couple passes to make it erase now because I moved the opacity down on the eraser. And I'm using the eraser similar to the brush in that. So I'm going to do something else on the other face, though. Riri says that he was my art teacher's hero in high school. He had us using the overhead projector to do his style. Is that right? Okay, so this is another approach for the day glow dots. With the reduced opacity on the eraser, I can go in and adjust the lines in the face and pull up the raised surfaces and leave the dots there for the lower surfaces. I'm not going to do this with the green. I'm going to put a red layer down or a darker pink layer down, and then I will do this. Give me 1 sec. Right? Right. Yep. Sorry. Just making sure I'm deleting the right thing. Okay, so I'm going to take our pen tool. I'm placing this the same thing as that I did before, the day glow dots, as a screen, and press 1 down. Haha, right? And then I go back to that eraser. So what I'm going to do now is what I showed you before with the green. So if I come in here now and I leave certain spots with the day glow dots here, now it's doing this Liechtenstein-esque texturing, color texturing in the face. And you're doing it with the old day glow dot, old style comic book, right? Chris says he had to use the overhead projector to do his style. Oh yeah, I guess he would. They're all the same. They're all the time using temporary contracts. I'm already booked for January, and I will sign another one for sure. There's a lack of English teachers. They can't let us go easily. Teachers must have a master's degree to be there. Boy, oh boy. I think that the temporary contract thing, unfortunately, is a societal thing now. Another friend of mine she's misplaced as the end of this week from her job as a graphic designer because the corporate company that she works for keeps the entire staff below the executive level on temp contract. That is upwards of 300 people. So brutal. Sure, because it's a substantial investment. It is, yeah. Querétaro. I'm not going to pronounce it right. I apologize. Chris is a precious commodity. We all know that already. We need lots of teachers, but few have master's degrees, so they can't be hired. Is that just some bureaucratic decision to have a master's degree? I think it's more important that they're actually teachers. They can actually teach. They actually want to teach. Okay, Riri says yes. Yeah, they need to find a new job. Oh yeah, no, they've already got that all set up. It's just the position that they were in. They're now out, and it's purely because of if they stay any longer, they have to be brought on permanent, and they won't be. So it's not even a case that they can renew. It's that they're constantly rotating certain staffs, like their graphic designers are continually rotated. It's a ridiculous way to run a company, and it's a ridiculous way to treat people. But it's corporate. It's not a person. Okay, so you can see how I'm now using. I'm doing shading, but I'm doing it by subtraction. I'm subtracting out the dots as opposed to putting them down. And then if I kick the opacity up again, and everywhere around the face, I take the red out entirely. Now it works as shading for the skin tone. Does that make sense? If you teach college students, if you teach college students, mess up a degree above them. Gotta go now. Time for the party. Oh yeah, that's true. That's completely true. Have a great time, Chris. Thanks for stopping by. Good luck with everything. We're absolutely sure, but we're all going to still pray that everything works out for your contract. That's not a good feeling. But having a fun time. TD says, have fun with Riri says, have fun with gigantic hearts in your eyes. Riri says, have fun. Okay, so this is what I was referring to by you can do the shading for a certain area. If I was to take this tool, by the way, and just do this and then delete it, I don't have to do the silly gesture that I'm doing of manually erasing all of that. I can just take it out in big swaths by just deleting those parts of the layer. It makes it a lot faster once you start realizing, oh, why am I doing this the hard way? So, okay, so just to show, here's the green in there again. Now, when I come back in with the green here, wrong layer, and I take out where I don't want the green at all, now you can see how the different dots work, by having, it's the same dots, it's just different colors doing different things in different parts of your composition. And so, like Roy Lichtenstein, you can do an old school Decollete dot drawing this way. I'll zoom in a little bit here just so you can see up close what I'm referring to. But that's just one thing that can be done. Like there's alternate ways of coloring this is to take that alternate tone and so just come in. I'll cut the opacity down again, but work my way up. And this, again, is on a different layer than that other color. And I can clean up the part that I've gone over with the post. If I did the post on a different level, I wouldn't have to keep doing this monkeying around with the post. But so this does the same deal. It's just a different way of doing it, and by using another tool and another layer. And so I'll often do this. Just give me one sec. So then I will come in and put the light enhancements in there too. So now I'm not just doing the recessed parts of the face, I'm doing the raised areas as well. And that's where you start to get more form and dimension. Lurking, sheltering. There we go. I have to run. I have to run too. Looking good, Christopher. Thank you, Dee Dee. Have a great day. Thanks for stopping in. So I'm on yet another separate layer for the white part than I am from the red part. You can see how one or the other doesn't look complete, but both of them together, and you start to define just with these two values. Now, I'd be using other colors in there as well, and I'd probably be using them on the same layer, but I'm trying to illustrate a way that you can go about using these different layers to your own benefit. Right? It's just fun. It's a fun way of coming in and building up your image and coloring it and using all of the things in your toolbox to more fully round out your image. Like you can just keep jumping to different colors and putting in the colors for the hair, but let me show you one last thing. I'm going to take all these other layers out. I'm going to put that base in and I'm going to duplicate it. So here's where I'm going to be cheeky. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is that I've now attached that white layer to the blue. So if I click once, it all disappears, right? If I go and there's a couple of steps that I do in order to convert this. So what I'm doing now, without going through all the steps because it's complicated and silly, what I'm actually doing now is I'm making another layer where this is entirely a black line now. And so, and I can deepen it up. So now it's black line art. And so now when I apply that to our image, and this is what I was referring to earlier, so now when I apply this with these different applications that we've been putting underneath it, now it is more easily identifiable. Like the image is far more clear. You don't have the weird coloring in the hair or because it's a light blue line art. I mean, I still have that light blue line art. That's right there. I still got a layer of that, but using the black line art is more clearly defined, and all of these different aspects that I've put in place of these different dots, of these different coloring layers, you can see how taking them all out, it gives you such a great range of control for how you want to do your image. And all it is a whole bunch of different layers, different little steps along the way where you've got, I'll do it on this layer. What am I on? Oh, yeah. Okay, so fix the opacity on that side. All right, so each of these layers looks like this. So like the base color is a layer, the flat gray color, hold on, this guy is a layer, and then there's that pattern I did as a layer, and so there's the color. Here's where we start doing these layers of the highlights, I guess, tints and shades, and then we've got these a couple of dot layers, right? And so all of these different, but sitting right up at the very top of all of these is our black line art. And so that's why it's clear and easy to see, because it sits right at the very top. So simply by having these different layers lets me play with color before, color behind. If I was to take one of the dot colors, okay, like let's take the red one, all right? And I'm going to move it behind the basic color layer. So that now, okay, so you see how the dots, where they were, and see how they go over top of the skin, okay, in this area over here, right? But if I move that layer down from here to here, okay, then that is going to put the dots behind the color layer, but the dot's going to be still in front of that pattern layer. Does that make sense? So it's just all about where a layer is placed. So this is a sort of walkthrough on how you can use these layers and how you can use a digital process of drawing. And I think that similar to like a mixed media application of having different mediums and using a jelly plated paper or to insert into it scraps of other printed images or things like that, and then laying a drawing over top of it. Like this is a brayer off piece of paper, and I've drawn the page on top of it, and even after having done that and having drawn the page on top of it, well, I went and put in the cats so that they're sitting over top of my drawn image, the painted image. The cats aren't on here. The cats are just some random cats images that I have drawn on a page that I can then use and overlay them on top of other art. So that's these 5-6 cats are all done in different color layers, like I just showed you how to do the black, but I've put them all through this drawing. So this is me going in visually and adding more complexity to the artwork that is traditional to begin with, but adding in those digital media as well. So it's a fusing of both. And no matter what, I've always finished these pages and the text and with the sound effects and things like that by going in and doing that in the Photoshop program. And in the Photoshop program, where the words are and where the white box is, that's behind those words, so it looks like a box with words in it, those are actually two separate layers, so that the words sit in front of the box. So even that process is where you can utilize layers to your benefit. That's a sort of really basic laymanist approach of how I go about doing some of these applications and these pages, and scanning the original art for a page. And I'll show you the original art for this page for today. And so every time I post a newly done page, you're able to see the finished one, but you're also able to see the original art on my Patreon page. And so you can see how I took this, I stretched it out a little to fill the whole space. I cut out the section in between the upper and lower images. I cut out the extraneous information on the outsides of it and put a nice black line around those two. Now those two panels is what they've become. Done the cat thing, made sure that falls within that lower panel as well, and cut off anything in excess of that. And then the layers of text went on top. So, there's so much experimentation that can be done on this level, as much as there's experimentation that can be done on the traditional level. And I think the real benefit that I have found is buying a simple scanner and scanning my traditional work, putting it into the computer, and then playing with it a little bit more. You know, there's all kinds of other processes that people use. There's all kinds of different approaches. Some people purely digital. Some people just want to stay purely traditional. Some people, you know, and even in that traditional ballpark and in that digital ballpark, there's totally different ways of working. You know, to illustrate stories, to illustrate visuals. Some people draw all their lines using vectoring programs. Some people do everything as though it's like they're digitally painting, like they're traditionally painting, but without all the mess. They're just doing it, changing the colors constantly on their brush, as opposed to having to have a palette set up or blending on a palette. They're blending digitally. There's so many tools and tricks and stuff in both worlds that there used to be a case where a lot of people would decry switching to digital. And I was amongst them. I didn't understand the digital world at all. And I'm not quick to jump into new technologies. So, but having done this in the last year, today's page is page 340, done, Monday to Friday or Monday, each day of the week. Monday to Friday, I do the videos, but I still do a page on Saturday and Sunday. But this is 340 pages since the beginning of January, actually January 15th. But it's taught me a lot by having to expedite the process, not linger and dwell on certain things. And so there'll be pages that I'll put out and I'll be like, I'm not happy with how that's finished, but I see what I learned from that and I move on to the next one. And I can explore something in a similar way, another idea, but I'm going to improve on the execution of it because I've learned things from that first time that I applied myself to it. So it becomes a little more natural to start understanding these different layers, and it becomes a little more natural to figure out how I'm going to apply them or apply other interesting bits and bobs to drawing in a purely digital sense, or just as the same as I've had to learn all kinds of different applications and how to apply different things to a traditional sense. My earliest books that I did, black and white and color, both of them, the text was put on. So I would do the whole drawing and do the line art, and then and the black and whites were fine. The color ones, it would either be a painting or just be like blue ballpoint pen, But then the text that were put on the earliest books that I did, I would literally write the text out by hand on paper and then cut that out as balloons or squares and tape them down to the earliest pages. And this is 2015 we're talking about for when I was doing a lot of those books. The books that I'd illustrated before that for others, they were already using the digital processes that they had available to them. And I'm like, that's just magic to me. And it took finally sitting down to it during the virus. That's how Dee Dee says it. It took having to reapply myself and how I was finishing things and how can I share them with the outside world. Getting a scanner was one thing, and turning on this Photoshop thing that I'd had given to me years before on a key, and finally utilizing this in a computer, and then eventually getting the monitor that I can draw on. And it's been a slow building thing to get all the things that I need. Oh, poor me. We're trying to hold that off forever. It's got nothing to do with anything other than the fact that I was up at 5:30 this morning. So even this thing is going to change the way I do things, because some of those switching of brushes and switching of tools, I can just press buttons to do this now instead of having to click and move around with my mouse over here and put down my pen each time I need to do that. Now I'm going to have that set up through this device. So there's growth and development on anything. It's not just traditional art. It's not just applying ourselves in one different practice or another, collage work or traditional drawing work or painting or drawing specifically in ink or utilizing different storytelling effects or or having different approaches to how I create an image or how I look at composition. All of those different sort of things that we start to develop ourselves in. The digital world's no different. So if you have the opportunity in whatever the most basic ways that you might, it's fun. It's another way to apply yourself and try something out. Even if you know somebody else that has this, you can go over and they'll let you play for half an hour. It's crazy. It's crazy how intuitive some of these things are once you figure out the basics of it. And I don't know that I'm still there yet. I'm still learning everything because I have such an old program. I am really ham hocking everything together as I go along, and it's only because it's a learning curve, right? So that's the gist of sort of stuff I want to talk about today, and trying mixed media application like I normally do, but because I let people in the stream choose should I do traditional or digital, it still applies in as mixed media, because while it is all in the digital world, you're not just specifically drawing, you're not just specifically painting. As soon as you start throwing weird textures at it, as soon as you start throwing day glow dots at it, it's just an entirely digital way of some of the same stuff that we do with mixed media. That's my thought, anyways. I think that's about it for me. I'm gonna go and get myself a cola that has some caffeine instead of this sucker. Grab the wrong can. That's why they yawn. I'm gonna go and do that and go see Lori and see how her day was. I'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. We'll see how this new Dooley Do is being incorporated. It was great having Chris yesterday on the stream. Now, I know that Miriam did something from the prompts yesterday. And if you didn't get a chance, check out the stream from yesterday and you'll see the prompts. I put them up on the screen that came in. I can tell you them now. They were raining cats and cats, wedding, space, clarinet, and hoppity or hippity hoppity. Hippity hoppy. And I used 3 of those. Chris used 3 of those, I think. I think Miriam did all 5, or maybe 4 of the 5. But if anybody else wants to do something from that, please feel free to do so, and please let me know. I'd love to see it. And but go check out what Chris did. Go check out what Miriam did, and or Art Curious. You'll find Miriam under. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I leave that open. I've got a couple suggestions that I'll be throwing back into the box. This hippity hoppy and space are 2 that I didn't incorporate in this image that I did today. Dweedle deedle do. Anyways, okay, this is my fun, silly Christmas day, Christmas outfit. I'm gonna go and get serious and help my son move a bed that he's bought for himself. So big fun. All right, everybody. Thanks very much for hanging out. I'll be back at 2 p.m. tomorrow. In the meantime, I hope you have a great day. Stay safe. Bye for now.